What's up,
Hello,
guys?
everybody.
Oh,
What's
sorry. I
happening?
totally,
Welcome.
it's not good. I like the first 2 seconds. I'm like talking over you. It's not good. Sorry.
Yeah, we
Go
didn't
for
we
it.
didn't plan this beforehand that I'd introduce or anything like that.
Go for it. Go for it.
Which is great because I didn't prepare an introduction, but some of you may know artist and instructor Jonathan Hardesty from Schoolism. We've had him in the clubhouse before for the Cyberpunk Witches
Yeah.
clubhouse theme, which was a lot of fun. That was a new experience for me as well, doubling up with someone on a single piece like that. So that was cool. And today we are doing a portrait study, which is something that Jonathan is no stranger to and has a course in Schoolism actually on doing expressive portraits. And he's got experience with digital and traditional. So yeah, go for it, Jonathan. Looking forward to this. Keen to be a student this
Oh,
time around.
awesome, man. I'm glad to have you here. It's like that. Honestly, this is like my favorite thing. Like I always say, like jamming as a musician is like my favorite, and this is that, man. So like the more people, the better. I love having you in here, man. Like anytime, for real, jump in. Like, and I'm not precious. Like if you want to paint over my painting or you want to do like, dude, just do it, man. Like I love that. So don't feel like put a mustache on it or do whatever. I'm not precious about it. And like you said, I have I've spent a lot of time doing portraits, and a lot of those were portrait commissions, and portrait commissions are like it's it's like the opposite of this. It's like it's people that don't know anything about art telling you what to do, and you having to tell them why that's dumb, so it's yeah, so this is great to be with other artists painting on something. It's like more like how I imagine like the Rubens studio would be,
yeah, for sure.
that kind of thing.
What I want to check with you is how do you want to approach this session today? Do you want to have everyone drawing on the same canvas doing the study next to you?
Oh yeah, let's get it all. Like, let's get as many people on that canvas as we can, And so I have that's why I have those references like put off around the sides too, because I know when you guys zoom in, like if I'm here and I zoom in, and I'm like right here working, like I can see it. But for you guys, like if you're over here, you got to like go back and forth, So that's why I put them around so you guys can zoom in like this and kind of be over here, and like you could have like 4 people right here, right? You could have like somebody here, here, like that, whatever. Let's have some fun with it. Have some fun. Who's so Oops. Forgive them, Watermelon or whoever that is. Forgive them. Do it. Forgiveness is good. That's hilarious.
You are forgiven.
All right.
Take away voice call settings. Okay, cool. Let's jump in.
I saw this reference on I'm gonna dive right in, man. Let's get rolling. I saw this reference on Unsplash. Unsplash, if you guys don't know. I mean, most of you probably know it, but if you don't know it, like it's all like royalty-free stuff and things like that. Not everything is, it's not like, it's more like there's some stuff that's like more photographic as opposed to like geared towards a painter, but or geared towards like a illustrator or like a painter. But it's really good. It's really cool, and you can find really. And when it's all royalty free, you don't have to worry about it. What that does mean is that other people will probably paint it or have painted it, but but it's cool. It's like it's a fun resource to see. It's just nice to know. Like I've always wondered, like over the years, I've been like, man, like I've used these references. I'm like, if somebody, I always would change it quite a bit because I always was like, if somebody comes searching for me, like heaven forbid, like a painting I did end up on the side of a billboard or something, and somebody's like, hey, that's me, and I didn't give you permission. Or I'm like, okay, so I always worry about that kind of thing. But but Unsplash is good. They have like a million photos on there too. Anyways, so I found this on there. This is cool. The reason I like this is it's not like a typical portrait that I would typically do. Definitely not like a portrait commission or like in oils or something like that. It'd be kind of tricky to set this up and have the person hold that pose and stuff. So this one looked really fun. And I also love having multiple light sources like that. Like it's really fun. It's definitely challenging. So instead of having like, the core shadow like this and like a very kind of clear classical kind of thing, you've got the core shadow like this, and then you got like like blue over here and you got red over here, you know, like I love that. I think that's fun. It just makes it more challenging. I think it's really fun. Let's give it a shot. And my whole family, like our family pictures, we all had froze, like massive froze. My dad had the biggest one, and like going down, it's like successively smaller froze for all of us. And so anytime I see a fro, I'm like, yeah, I got to do it. My daughter has super cool. Yeah, my daughter, I've done paintings of her. Actually, it's on my site if anybody sees it, but she's got like, she could pick out her hair and have a massive fro too. She could. It's fun. But yeah, this is cool. Like this is the kind of thing that like on Splash is fun too, because like I said, the photographers with crazy lighting and stuff like that. I love that. I think it's cool. This is dramatic too. I almost imagine this is like more almost like almost like what I would see like like concept art or whatever, or something more like that. Like the lighting is like more akin to that, I think, which is interesting. But
yeah, very common across Pinterest and Unsplash and similar sites is sort of going nuts with the RGB lights, getting that nice rim light in there, nice and sharp.
That's right. That's right.
Great. I dig it.
So I just got back from Lightbox. That was fun. Sam and I, if anybody was there, anybody out there, if they were there, I took my son Sam. We stopped in Flagstaff. We drive out there when we go, which is fun. And so it's a long drive. It's like 20 hours or something like that. But and all my friends from Europe are like, what the heck? Like they're like, they're like, I'd be in Russia or whatever, they're like, I'm like, it's funny. They're always like, that's ridiculous. Cause I say, I would go visit my family all the time and it was like 9-hour drive or whatever. And that just blows everybody's mind, they're like, what the heck?
That's so long.
Yeah. So it's not bad though. Like I much prefer doing that over, oh wait, no, Nell told us stories about beating children or something. Well, you can pretty much just kind of bet on that anytime. Like that's not just at Lightbox, that's just all the time, but he's right. Nell he's throwing me under the bus now. Yeah. Actually, what's funny is I think I know what he's talking about. My son does MMA training with me and he beats the crap out of me all the time. He gave me a black eye the other day. Yeah, and he's only 13. He's only 13. I mean, that's part of it, but because I tell him to go as hard as he wants with me because I know him, and I'm bigger than him, a lot bigger than him. I just tell him to go 100% so that he gets the practice going 100%. You don't really ever get to really. He doesn't go 100%, but it's nice for him to get the practice, and so then I pay for that sometimes when I'm like, why did I tell him to? So that's what Nell's talking about, I think. So it's what do I want to say? It's consent. It's consenting violence, which is a phrase I've never really used, but
that's an interesting one.
Yeah. Nell.
Do you guys have places that you tend to stop at along the way?
Yeah, last year we went to the Grand Canyon, which was really fun. Yeah, that was really fun, and we hiked and stuff like that. This year we only could do a day in between, so we just stopped at Flagstaff, and we were gonna hike and stuff like that. And he and I were both like, we're really tired. I think we're gonna like just we went around Flagstaff and like we went to some places to eat and stuff like that, but we were pretty dead. So I was like, okay, yeah, let's just chill. So we just chilled and kind of went around Flagstaff and stuff like that. It's a cool place, cool town. I liked it.
But I've never heard of it. But I mean, obviously, I'm not a familiar part of the world to me. So
yeah, but it isn't like a well-known, city. But what's funny, man? Like it's kind of like it's the mountains. So you're like 7,000 feet up, and it's the mountains, but it feels like a beach. Like a community. So my wife grew up in Summers Point, which is on the Jersey Shore, and she's like real close to New York and real close to Maryland and everything like that. So I would drive up to see her. That's where I grew up in Maryland. But so I got like a good feel for like the beach town kind of a thing, and it feels like that there. 100% it feels like that. It's like it's weird, and no joke, man, no joke. I was there, and it felt like I was in the 90s. Like I don't even. I mean, I saw people with. Thank you, forever, who put that heart there. I appreciate it. Thank you. Watermelon. What is it? Watermelon.
That's what a balloon.
Watermelon. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. um, but I felt like I stepped into the 90s. Like people had what was the band? I can't remember. It was this like goth rock band that I like heard growing up. And it was like this obscure band. And this kid that was like probably 15 was wearing the shirt. Like, and I was like, and all like dressed up like it. And I'm like, what is happening? And then I was looking at all the adults and I was like, I mean, I felt it's hard to explain, but I was just sitting there like, I mean, kids were wearing like the baggy jeans and like everybody looked like they were a member of Pearl Jam or whatever. And I was like, it was so weird. I mean, it was like I took a leap back in time. I was like, what is happening? I mean, it was all over, all over. Even like I saw a dude that was like a construction worker, like carrying one of those like metal like thermoses like that my dad used to carry like in the 90s. Like I was like, what the heck? It was really weird. So it was such a weird experience. I don't like, it's hard to explain because I know nobody was there, but it was crazy. What were you saying? Sorry.
I know, like this whole like metal town.
Yeah.
Stuck in time.
Yeah, dude. So weird, man. Like it was really odd. Really, really odd. I mean, I felt like I was gonna go see like Nintendo games on the shelf, like, and stuff, and like the original NES. I mean,
yeah.
Did you have like? How old are you, Ryan? How old are you?
I'm 36.
36. Okay, so
yeah.
All right, so I'm 43, so I'm 8 years older. So you were like a PlayStation 1.
Yeah, PlayStation 1, but I was always more of a PC kid.
Yeah, okay. So when you were younger, then like Diablo came out and stuff, right?
Yeah.
When you were like 9 or something, right? Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something
Okay.
like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So like, yeah, I remember that in college, like us playing Diablo, which tells you I'm a lot older than you, but 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 we were playing that, and I remember like I was just talking to somebody about that the other day. Like we would try to play with each other, and it was like IPX. It wasn't TCP/IP back then. It was like IPX, and it just never worked. Like, or it would work for like 5 minutes and then stop working. And I was like, I don't understand. It was like it was really funny. But yeah, I remember a buddy of mine was an IT guy. And so, of course, a lot of people have a much higher general knowledge now about how to fix their computer, how to do things, how to, it wasn't that way back then. It was like you would look it up online or try to ask a friend or do something to try to figure out what you should do, but he set us all up. He made connected us all in the dorms. Like he did it. I went and asked the college if he could put like a network together, like a wired network, because there was no wireless network, which is hilarious for me to say. It makes me feel really old, but there was no wireless networks, at least that I knew of. Like, I don't think, like, maybe they had it in like big companies or something, but we didn't have it. And so he made a wired network, and we played. He was like, "Hey, I found this game on this like GeoCities site, which is like this old, and it looked so goofy. It was Counter-Strike, like Counter-Strike, like it was like the original Counter-Strike. Like it didn't cost anything. It was like guys just making it, like, and it was so buggy and so messed up. But we played like 20 people at a time. And we were just like, this is the greatest thing ever. We couldn't believe it. Like 20 people at a time. Yeah, GeoCities. If somebody knows that, I guess you're old. Yeah.
Made my first website in GeoCities.
Yes. Did you have your first one was in GeoCities? Is that right?
Yeah.
That's awesome. Did you have the animated GIFs, like the bouncing ball?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So funny, man. So funny. Like that stuff back in the day, man. Back in the day, it's so funny. But yeah, it was on a site like that, and it was totally just it was the like early beta. So I was like, what is this game? I was asking my friend, and he was like, it looks really cool. We were kind of like, I actually asked him when I saw it, I was like, dude, I said, am I gonna get like a virus from this or whatever? He was like, no, you're good. I actually asked him. It was pretty funny. Um, and so that was like that was my introduction to like to gaming. But yeah, I just remember I remember Diablo and trying to play that and I thought that was super cool and stuff. And man, that's funny though. So okay, so you were more of a PC guy. You know what I did first? Did you ever play this might have been like before your time, but like did you ever play, you know what I'm talking about with MUDs? You know what I'm talking about? Like multi-user something. What does it stand for?
No.
Multi-use. Like it was all text. So it was like text-based,
Oh.
like online stuff. Like you hit N and it would go north, right? Like it would tell you what's there at, you know,
Okay.
in north. Did you ever play anything like that? Did you ever play anything like that?
No, I did. I don't think I did.
Yeah, because that was like first
Just before.
internet games, like, you know. Oh wait, did you play Ultima Online? Do you know what I'm talking about? Did you
No,
ever
I
play
didn't.
Ultima Online?
Anyone
Oh
else?
my gosh, that game, I played that a lot in college too. But that's so funny, man. It's like I'm reliving that was like that was probably one of that was before Blizzard like took over the scene and stuff like that. That was before that. But yeah,
The
funny,
website's
man.
still there.
Oh yeah, I think they still have players. I think they still have
Wow.
players, which is crazy.
That 97 was the initial release.
Yeah, that's it. I was 17, right when I went to college. That's right when I went to college. That's so funny. So weird, man. So weird. And like what was cool about that game is like you could literally do anything.
Thank you.
You had people who were like making, you know, like they just had societies. Like they didn't even like play the game for what it was. Like they would just like create a town and like make a society and like to like they were just like it was strange, man. It was strange. Like at
Before The
its height.
Sims.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. And then Blizzard started you know, like doing their thing and then they kind of took over, you know. So
Yeah. Do you still game now?
I don't really like I don't have time, but I
Yeah.
do occasionally with my kids. And so like I do a lot of stuff. I'm doing a lot of stuff recently in Quill. And do you know Quill on you know VR like on you know an Oculus or whatever, or I guess it's a Meta Quest now. It's Meta now, I guess. But I do a lot of animation stuff in that, and so I got Alex, like I got that game and played that, you know, because I have Steam and stuff, and so I got Alex, and I was like, I think that's I played it. I was like, this might be the best game I've ever played. Like I mean, like it's so just because of the fact that it's in VR. Have you ever played that?
No, I haven't done
Oh
any
my
sort of VR
gosh.
gaming.
Oh my gosh, man. Like that was so psycho. Like it was psycho to play it. Like I can't so like I loved Half-Life. Like I definitely played that a
Yeah.
lot when I was younger. And so I loved that. And this is like Half-Life, but Half-Life like you're in it. Like you're there and you're in it. Like you're in the world. It's so
Uh-huh.
weird, man. You gotta if you ever get the chance, you gotta try it because it trips you out. Like the very first, the very first scene, like you're on this balcony or whatever, and this you can like see this whole city, right? It's this whole city's in front of you, and you go back inside, and there's like a glass window, and there's a guy that had like drawn stuff on the window, like pointing to the buildings that are in the distance, like this is where this is. So like when you line it up, like when you get in position, you line it up, you can see like he was drawing over top of the glass with like dry erase marker, like saying this is where I need to go, blah blah blah. And so I pick up the dry erase markers and I'm like, I start drawing on the thing. I'm like, this is crazy. Like that I could just get up and draw. That was like my first initial thing. And then I threw at one of the dry erase things at a pigeon and it flew away. And it was like, you know, it was like, oh, it like flew away. I was like, and I was throwing bottles down at the people under, and I'm like, I'm not even playing the game yet. Like, and it was just, it was trippy, man. Like it was really trippy. That was super, super cool. Really, really cool. And just amazing. Like I'm telling you, like the whole experience put together, I was like, that has to be the best game ever. Like it has to be like, you know, up to this point, because it's just like, it's like you're in a movie. Like
Very
you're in a movie.
transporting.
It's like, it's so crazy, man.
Wow.
I don't even like. Yeah, you got to try it. You got to try it sometime, man. It's
I'll have to
really
get my
really cool.
hands. I think I did try like VR at it was a national arts festival, and one of the exhibits had a sort of VR thing. One thing that was, okay, obviously not gaming related, but one was simulating being a person who is in a wheelchair, so you can't really turn around. You can only sort of turn,
Oh, that's interesting.
and you had these voices behind you. You need to try and see around you. And sometimes I think someone would move the virtual chair around you. So it was kind of forcing people into a place and try and emulate that same experience with people with disabilities.
That's
Very
actually awesome. That's
version.
actually awesome.
Yeah.
I would like to see the world. My son is colorblind. I'd love to
Mhm.
see like have a whole thing where it's just I'm seeing it the way he sees it, like from environment to environment. Like,
Ah.
because I know I will go in and I have a good idea of kind of how he feels, like a pretty good idea, like of how he sees the colors. And
Mhm.
but because they have that proof, there's a proof mode in Photoshop that
Yeah.
you can see like a Dutan. He's got whatever the word is, like Dutan of whatever. He's like Dutan, like he's red green, colorblind. And
Okay.
so I can bring that up and see it. But then he just was spending some money. He works and like cuts people's lawns and stuff. And he wanted to get these
Mhm.
Jordans, like these Air Jordans. He wanted to get them, so he's ordering them on eBay or whatever. So I brought it in to Photoshop to like, and I was like, I want to see what colors you're seeing on this, like why you're attracted to this particular one and all that stuff. And I brought it in. He was like, oh no, that looks totally different. So like, there's times when
Interesting.
yeah, there's time when he could tell the difference between red and not, and then there's times when he has no, like if you have a bunch of tomatoes in a bin and some are
Mhm.
red and some are green or whatever, like he can't tell the difference at all. Like he can't tell the difference at all. But with that shoe, he could tell when I was like turning it off and on, and it's odd, man. Like I think it's context. I think it's like lighting context, and
Yeah.
there's some things like it's real interesting to see how he sees the world and stuff. But he's gotten so good at, because he can't see color distinction like in grass and stuff like that. He's so good at seeing textural changes and like like
Mm.
little shadow. Like he's basically like learning to see value apart from color, like since he was since he could first see, since he was born. Like it's he's been learning to see things based on value, not based on as much on color, because he has less information. And
Interesting.
so it's fascinating to see like how he can, when we're in the woods, man, he can like spot something in like a second. Like he spots it in a second. Like it's like camo doesn't really work on him. It's really interesting. um
So what you're saying is your son is Daredevil.
yeah, right. Yeah, right. It's true. It
Other
is true.
senses refining.
It's true. Like I've had a lot of friends that were blind over the years, like maybe like 4 or 5, and they they were the same. Where like, man, like, do you hear that? And I'm like, hear what? And they're like, like they could tell the difference. Like, oh, you don't have your keys in your pocket. I'm like, do I have my keys? They're not in your pocket. And I'm like, why? He's like, I would have heard it. When you're walking in, like, chink, chink, like the
Ah.
dude, like just the level of like distinction between what they can hear, so cool, really cool. And I noticed that when I would try, I mean, I'm not very good at this, but I've done some, I tried to get into doing like audio production and stuff because I was in a band when I was younger. And so I
Mhm.
did some stuff with my brother for fun. And so I've done a little bit of like mixing and engineering and stuff like that, a little bit. And, but when I first was on, I was like, okay, I'm going to get this class or get this, like, there was like a demo and a class you could get to kind of help you kind of get used to the basics, because I didn't know anything, and it was like, hey, listen to this clip and then listen to this clip after it. Like you hear how there's like sibilance or like, this in this, bass guitar. And I was like, I don't hear anything of what they're saying. I was like, I don't know what they're talking about. I was like, what? And then I would play the clip back and I was like, what are they talking about? I was like, it sounds the same. I guess it's the same as students being like, you're like, well, this blue is warmer than this blue. And they're like, what are you talking about? Like
Yeah.
they can't see it. And so, but then after working on stuff and taking some time, I was like, oh, you start to like hear it differently. Like you start to see things differently, of course, if you're an artist, and you start to hear things differently if you're an audio engineer, and you can become like where you work on it too long and you become deadened to kind of what you're hearing, which is
Yeah.
interesting. And so I can imagine that people are blind or people who are like they really do, like they compensate in that way, and they just get much better at paying attention to what's going on sound wise.
Mm.
So it's fascinating.
Because
But
like maybe with one sense less, the amount of um, like the brain's still trying to process like X amount of information, and now that there's this gap from that sense, it tries to fill it in with the rest.
right,
There's some kind of
right,
weird mechanism like that.
right,
I don't
exactly.
know.
So it's like imagine if like somebody couldn't see any color and then they're looking at your paintings, they'll know where the values are off, or even just like very little color, like where we have to, it's like a skill we have to grow, like where we can see value apart from color, like we have to like try to figure that out, yeah, so it's interesting. It is very, so I think most people that have that do have sort of like a superpower in a way, so to speak.
Yeah.
They kind of build that up. So but it's he's it's good because he needs something to struggle with, my son, because he's really good at a lot of different things, and so he needs like at least some sort of a struggle, so it's not too easy for him, like he just picks up crap like so easy. It's like the
Damn
opposite
him.
of me. I know, it's like the opposite of me. Like mine's like I'm like 10 times slower than everybody else, like 10 times
Yeah, me
slower.
too.
But it's like, but I'm willing to stick in it, and stick it out. That's where I can,
Sets
that's
you
like
apart.
my power. Yeah, but it's like to stick it out, being an idiot, but like just banging my head against the wall long enough to where until I'm not. So
Would you say you're kind of stubborn in that sense?
oh yeah. Oh, I don't think
Uh,
there's a person alive, Ryan, that would actually say that I'm not stubborn. Like my wife would laugh. Actually, like I was being kind of a jerk like the other day, like yesterday. And so I asked my son, I was like, so do you think, I was like, do you think I'm reasonable? Like, will I admit when I'm wrong and like, and this and that? And I was asking him, and I said, tell me your perspective. I was like, give me your outside perspective so I can fix this or whatever. And he's like, oh, he said, well, listen, he goes, if we prove that you're wrong, he's like, you'll admit it right away. He's like, if we like prove very clearly, like, oh yeah, like you did that and it's very obvious, he said, but if there's like an inkling of like there's a possibility, he's like, you'll be like, it's possible, but that's not like and he's like you're stubborn that way and stuff like that. This is really funny. So like I was just talking about that, and so yeah, I'm real stubborn, like very definitely really stubborn. And the more people say I can't do something, the more I'm like, all right, I'm just
okay.
gonna do that. Yeah.
And how are you with art? So now I'm asking like typical interview questions here, but like
No,
for
it's good.
you,
I
was
like
it
it.
an
It's
easy
fun.
thing, or did you really like you have to kind of fight for it to be able to do what you see everyone else do?
Oh man, I definitely feel like I had to fight for it. I feel like that with every area. Like I'm not really a natural, like usually when I start something, the person that's really good at it looks at me and says, like even MMA and stuff like that, when we're doing that, like the teacher was like, this guy, like, I probably looked super plunky, like I had two left feet and looked like an idiot. And I mean, for real, like no joke, like I mean, just legitimately. And I just feel like it takes me a while to kind of internalize the stuff and kind of, and it's like the doing of it. Like I can get the understanding pretty quick, but the doing of it is, I feel like, takes me longer than most people. Um,
Mm.
and so I get the understanding very quickly, but then I'm not great at doing it. I just have to, I don't know. Like I feel like that. I definitely feel like I've had to kind of really push hard in every area, but I kind of like it. Like now I'm like addicted to that. I'm like addicted to the hard things,
Ah,
and
that's good. That's a good thing to cultivate. I
yeah.
haven't got there yet.
Yeah. Oh, I don't believe that, man. You're doing studies every week. You're like, let me do studies live every week. You're not
Yeah.
taking the easy path. That's
I'm
not the easy
certainly
path.
certainly in the deep end every week. I won't lie. Like some of this
That's what I'm
subject matter
saying.
I've never tried before. So yeah,
I love it. Love it.
I'm getting way more comfortable with being uncomfortable like that,
Yes.
tackling these things that I don't understand. And like with doing a portrait, for example, I don't have solid understanding of anatomy and facial structure. but then I just try and bring it down to, okay, shapes. I'm not doing a particularly good job of it now while I'm talking, but bring it down just to blocks of shape and value. And then I just kind of work with that. And as I figure that side out, hopefully I'll learn, oh, well, the nose does this kind of weird shape over there.
Yes.
Over time.
Well, I mean, the
I
whole
still
thing.
get in there and do it.
Oh yeah, exactly. And the whole thing is like it's you know, it's a growth process, man. Like it's like, and it's always like that. Like I kind of do a combination of both. Like I'm thinking of the general structure, and that to me, it's like I kind of vacillate back and forth between those two things. Like going like to looking at the shapes and doing that, but then also thinking of the 3D structure, and like that's what's worked the most for me. I think is you know, combining bits of both where I can think like, oh, okay, like let me look, because I was just explaining actually to a student today, like I was just explaining, you know, the really when you look at the shapes of light and dark, it's like you're starting at the end result, right? So like the reason there are shapes and shadow shapes that look like that is because there's a very particular structure on that person's face, and there's a very specific lighting scenario, and the light's going in a, then they're sitting in a very specific space, the light is in a very specific space, and the light is a certain degree of intensity and all this stuff. Like that's, you know, that's what creates those shadow shapes. That's what, you know, allows them to be like that. So you can start with the end product and kind of grab the shadow shapes, or you can start with the structure and kind of go that way, or you can combine both, right? And kind of look at both, and you can do it. And so people rely on different ways of getting the job done. But it's very closely related, because at some point, even if you're working with structure, like even like a 3D modeler, like if you're making something like in Blender or whatever, like you've got to, at some point you got to light it, right? Like you've got to light it so that people can see what it is, right? And then it creates specific shadows, and it's the same sort of principle, I think. So like, but I do think what you'll find is as you dive in, which is the same. I think we kind of are very similar that way, because I started off having the more traditional route where it wasn't like structure based. It was more just based on shapes of light and dark. It sounds like we're similar that way. And and the more I start to delve now into the structural side, the more I feel comfortable like manipulating and changing things. And like that just fuels the imaginative side so much. Like, but I feel like the people, like I always try to tell people too, if you're only relying on structure, like if you're only drawing heads like this and kind of thinking in, you know, ellipses around them and like what the structures are, you're going to tend to make everything like symmetrical. Everything is sort of like idealized, right? Whereas reality throws you those really weird things. Like I've had crazy asymmetry in people sitting for portraits, like crazy asymmetry. And I'm like, this is cool. You know, like I want to paint it. You know what I mean? Like I want to paint that crazy symmetry, or crazy asymmetry. I mean, you know, because it's so unique. And I wouldn't have gotten there if I would have started with like a generic head with a generic, you know, sort of like placement for the eyes and stuff. It would look like that, right? It would look like it was generic. So and so I think there's strengths and weaknesses to each approach and all that. And I think that's the cool thing. I think that's why I've kind of settled on like just kind of using both and thinking that way. And it just helps you problem solve, I think, if you can do both. But I'm definitely stronger in just shape recognition. But I'm the same as you. I'm working on it. You know, I'm working to get better and better with construction side of things and the anatomy. And man, on my class, on the portraits class that you were mentioning, when you break things down based on structure, man, like when you start getting into expression, which is what I talk about in the class, like when you get into expression, you can, you know, modify expression based on where you put the structure. Like that opens up a whole world. Like if you can know what structures are in what place for a specific type of expression, you can take and change a person's expression slightly or dramatically or whatever you want to do. Like it's pretty cool. That opens up a lot. So yeah, it's fun, man. I mean, yeah, I love that. Like that's the more I delve and the more I grow as an artist, like it's endless, man. It's endless. 100% endless. I feel like it's like it's never going to end, you know.
That's the thing to accept, I suppose, more than anything else. There's always more. You're never gonna hit that level where you truly happy, I think, maybe,
Oh
when it comes
yeah.
to your own ability. You're like, oh wait, I could be doing that. Like, look how this
Oh
person
yeah,
does that
100%.
thing.
And I'm like addicted to learning crap. Like I'm addicted to that, man. I love it so much. Like I've got I don't know if it'll go through. So this whole, like I was telling you, I was doing that job or I was doing that or doing I've been doing some jobs in Quill and stuff like that, like doing some animation. Well, I'm not an animator. Like I'm really not. But I'm learning that stuff and learning that side of it. And it's related. Like it's related, like because you have to draw gestures and you have to draw figures and you have to capture movement in a single frame. It's definitely different when you're animating it and stuff, but I've been having fun doing that. And thankfully I was like more the painter guy than I was the in Quill than I was the animator, but I'm learning that side of things. But anyways, like
Mhm.
the same client that had us working on, like it was basically a children's book that got turned into like we animated it, right? So we would explode the pages out as PNGs and in Photoshop, like we'd have to go through, and then we would in Quill, like with parallax, like using parallax in like interesting ways, like we would animate all that. And so that was a fun project, really good. But now he's like, well, we should do a game? Like I want to do a game, like a very low in scope, like very small in scope, like a game. And he's like, he's like, can you guys do that? And my buddy was like, can we do that? And I was like, sure. I was like, let's do it. And I'm like, he's like, do you know anything? And I was like, nope. I was like,
No.
nope, I don't know GD script. I was like, I'm gonna use Godot because that's free. I was like, I don't know GD script. I was like, I'll learn it. I was like, let's learn it. I was like, I can Frankenstein the code. I've done other things, but couple other things like I can Frankenstein the code. And it's so low in scope, like the game, that I was like, okay, I could do that. Like if it had multiple levels and had all these different things and had all this craziness, you know what I mean? If it had like all this crazy stuff, then I would be like, no. Or I would just hire somebody to do it, to program that side of it. Because all the art
Yeah.
assets I can make and stuff. But anyways, my whole point is like, I was just like, yeah, let's do it. I was like, let's do it. Because I was like, hey, listen, I was like, if he has the money and he knows where we are, he knows we're like, he would have to pay for what he's asking us to do. He would have to, with anybody else, he'd have to pay like $100,000. So we're like, giving him a break. And so yeah, so we'll see how it turns out. But I'm just addicted to, like, I love those situations of not knowing. I'm like, I don't know how this is gonna work, and I don't know how, like, we'll figure it out. I started looking into it though, and it's not too bad. It's not too bad. Like it really isn't. Like it's not as bad as I thought. And then I'll get into it, and I know it's super tedious and super, like, you have to be super meticulous and everything, but it's not going to be horrible. I don't think. I think it'll be fun. So, but it does. I mean, it's like anything. It's like anything. It's always much harder once you get into it. Developers,
Mm.
they always, it's always harder. But again, like I said, the scope is so small for what he wants that I'm like, okay, let's do it. I'm like, this is my time to try it. I'm like, let's do it. And all the Foley sound, like the Foley sound and like the music production and stuff like that, like I already know how to do that, right? So I already have the equipment for that, like I was saying, because I've delved into that. So that side I can do, the art side I can do for sure. And I've already been, modeling stuff in Quill and bringing it into Blender. I've already started doing that kind of a thing. And so I'm like,
Mm.
man, there's like one more step just to, make it an asset that can be used in Godot, and then figure out how to tell the computer to do stuff with that asset. Like, I don't know. So it's fun, man. And we'll we'll see. Maybe I'll come on one of these streams and I'll be like, is there any programmers that can help me? Which I'm definitely leaving some of the budget for me to, like, try, to get in there, like, in case I get stuck. Like I'm leaving like a lot of money for like a budget just in case, just in case I have to,
Well, that's
like,
good that you have that room for it,
yes,
that
that's
financial
right.
room. I mean,
Yeah, because I'm like, I'm not, I do like, I'm wild. I'm a wild man that way, but I'm not too crazy, I'm not too stupid, I guess I should say. Like I know I might not be able to do it, but we'll see. So it's fun.
oh, awesome.
It's gonna be a blast though, but I love that. It's like you said, like putting yourself in uncomfortable, situations. And man, I grow so much in those situations. I like crave them. I crave them. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's my take, but it's weird. It's funny. We'll see. I'll let you know. I'll give you an update and be like,
I realized I
uh,
didn't even put in any music while we were jamming here. I'm gonna find
oh
some.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, drop some music in.
Seems we've got
Although
this red and
that's
blue
good
while
because
we're
I talk
syncing.
too much, so it'll be good. We get some music in there.
No, it's not too much at all. That's why I'd forgotten. I mean, 40 minutes in, I didn't even realize that there was no music. It's great.
You're like,
Maybe
John
in the
still
stream it
has
was
his
just me.
run-on sentence, that's good.
There we go. Cool. Just keep it real soft so it doesn't compete in case anyone else has got their own tunes on.
That's right. Yeah, and I'm excited. Like if that job goes through, there's some equipment that I will that I'll need to get. And my dad, it was a construction worker, and so he would start doing jobs like woodworking jobs. Like early on, like he's not that anymore. He hasn't been that for a long time. But like early on, when he needed money and stuff, like he would build houses and stuff like that. And so then he started doing. He loves woodworking, so he would do woodworking for people and stuff. And he told me something early on. He was like, whenever you have a job, he said, I would get them to pay. I would work into the cost of it, like the oh yes, somebody put the mustache on there. Yes, I love it. That's good. I just saw on there. That's really fun. Let's see. Okay. Oh, let me. What was I saying? Oh yeah. So like he would do those jobs. I was reading what everybody else was saying at the same time. He would do those jobs, and then he would like work into the cost of the job, the price of whatever tool he needed for that job. So he would say like if he needed a certain kind of table saw or whatever. So after he did that for like 3 to 4 years, he had all the tools he needed for all the types of jobs that he needed, right? So so I kind of have kept the same mentality, and I thought that was really smart when he told me that. So like now with this job, I'm like, okay, I need a MIDI controller that's much better, like one. And like I needed, like for the last job for that animation thing, I needed like Contact, like Native Instruments is this company that makes like these crazy, I mean they make like sample libraries, and it's really cool. Like it's amazing. Like you can accomplish so much with their stuff. So they have like a MIDI controller that I'll buy for this. I'm gonna work into the cost. Like I wanted the new Oculuses, like the new MetaQuest and that one, because I have an old one and all that stuff. So I'm trying to, that'll be fun if I get it, like 'cause I can get those new tools, and then I'll have them for my own projects that I'm working on. I'll have all that stuff available for that. So I try to do that. I thought that was smart what my dad said. Try to work it in that way.
Yeah, that's good. I've seen other people do the same thing, and it just like better equips you to do more of that work.
Yes,
down the line.
yes.
It's a very smart decision.
You kind of like grow your setup and grow your sort of like the options of what you can achieve or whatever. You kind of expand it, so fun stuff. I'm trying to do 1 quill animation a day, and I give myself like a limited amount of time because I really want to learn animation. So I'm giving myself a limited amount of time, like 15 or 20 minutes. I found I make the best gains if I do something every day. Like if I do it every day, I make the best gains. And and so I'm trying to do that, and I suck right now, like so bad at it. Like I suck so bad. But I feel like I'll get better.
So what kind of stuff are you? Because I mean, to do something every day, that's quite a commitment. And to do something fresh and new each time, are you focusing on something specific to make it easy for yourself?
So I just whatever I try to like. This is where I'm learning too. Like the scope. Like you can move. The reason I use Quill too. Like a lot of people don't know about Quill, but the reason I use Quill is because it's so, dude. Quill is so fast. It's so fast. So I did yesterday, for instance. I did like a pair of disembodied legs, like with a bone sticking up, like where the spine would be, and it was like barefoot and. And like wearing pants, and it was just running, like they were just running. I just made them run, and blood was like flying off the there was like a disembodied and bloody like kind of upper section. Now it's real rudimentary, right? So it's super rudimentary, very, very rudimentary. But it's like I'm just taking whatever concept I have, and that's part of what I'm trying to push myself to do too, is come up with an achievable concept and something where I can tell a story that's very simple, but also I can like kind of finish it. You know what I mean? Like I think today, I was thinking about it today, and I was like, I want to do a bird that's just sitting there kind of like flapping its wings, and then it just explodes, so like so then I think about it, it's like, it's funny, it has like it has like a beginning, a middle, and an end, so to speak, I guess. But it also is like, I don't have to animate too much in there, right? It's like, but it'll be interesting to do the explosion. It'll be interesting to do, all that kind of thing. So it's like thinking of stuff like that. Like I've seen some of those guys that are really good animators. They did in Quill, they did Inktober, like Inktober in Quill. So like it would be a scene. It would be a scene. Like it blows my mind. Like they painted a whole scene and like animated it, and it's funny. Like they're real funny. And I'm like, dang, like to do that. And that's what kind of inspired me. I was like, man, I need to, because it helps with your storytelling, I think, too, when you can think like, what can I get done in this time, and how can what's the like simplest and easiest way to like get this concept across that I'm working on, and so I think it's really cool. It's really cool. So it's fun. It just helps. It helps, like, because he would, like, the person I saw doing it, he would be like, it would be like, whatever the prompt would be, it was like an interesting take on the prompt, but then also, he would either like take a particular path, like it would either be really funny, or it would be like touching, or it would be like something that you're like, oh yeah, I like, I'm trying to think of like a specific one, that would be, well, it would be something like this, right? So if it was like fall, like, or like falling, right? It could be like, he's falling for a girl, he would interpret it that way. Or like sometimes he would have just a guy, like it looks like it's like a close-up on his face in the shot, and then like he's like sweating, and then you zoom out and he's holding onto a rope, and there's like piranhas underneath him, and you're just like, oh snap, like, like there were a lot of funny things that he did. Like it's cool, man. Like the storytelling is really, that aspect I think is really fun, and it's an underrated skill, I think. It's just it's like you get that take on something. Like you have to have a take on it, and when you have to do it in 15 or 20 minutes and decide on what it is, and then also make it, and then also animate it, then that's demanding. So
yeah, I would think that really challenges just the beginning, middle, end aspect.
Yes,
because you can't go into elaborate stories, and frankly, you got to tell the information that is essential to get it across.
Right.
I think
right.
We all get quite caught up in the minor details, actually, that don't necessarily support the story that you want to tell. So having that really condensed, or that limitation on yourself, I'm sure is quite helpful.
Yeah, exactly, man. Exactly. Like that's the thing. When you can, and then you start to learn, like when you want to do a longer story, like it just gets your brain in the mode, because that's always the hard thing. Like when you're telling a story, it's like, I need to define this about the character. Like I need to introduce that my character is this, right? Or this type of a person, or this. And like, what's the best way for me to introduce that, right? Like, so you could literally, introduce that someone is a villain by giving them like giving them a gun and they're mowing people down, right? Or you could introduce that they're a villain just with the simple act of like, a kid walks up and says, and they're like rude to the kid, right? And they're really rude to the kid, like just, and everybody's like, man, what is up with that guy? There's something wrong with that guy, right? Like then that's a more subtle way to kind of, like you can, like, if somebody wanted to betray me as like a bad, or portray me, not betray me, well, betray I guess too, but portray me as like a bad dad or something, what would they pick from my life? Like, right? Like what moment would they pick from my life where I'm like losing my temper, or I say certain thing or something like that, and they could kind of show that, right? And show that like out of context or whatever, or show it in context, and and then
if you're really bad in context,
right? That kind of thing. So it's right. So, but it's like one of those things, right? It's like, it's really fascinating and interesting, I think, to think about, like, how do you develop characters and what's the subtle way to do it? Because back in the day, like, we've grown a lot film wise, like as a society, like we understand how to tell stories like visually a lot better, because back in the day they'd be like, oh, that's why I tied you to the railroad track, because I I wanted to steal the diamonds, and you know what I mean? Like, and so it's like that, and then now we're somebody, will say one little line and then they cut to another scene and you're like, oh, okay, dang, okay, that guy's, we're much more savvy as a population, but I think also storytelling has become much more savvy. It's like people are talking about something in a scene, and then somebody says, how are we gonna find somebody who's gonna take care of it? And then it cuts to the other person, and you're like, oh, okay, that's the person that's gonna take care of it, right? Like subtle stuff like that, it's whereas in the old days, like in theater, they were like having to explain everything and point it out. So it's good. It's that muscle, whatever that muscle is, that gets worked by doing that, I think. And so I think I'll get better at it over time, but I suck. Like I said, right now, I suck at it really bad. Really bad.
Are you trying to emulate any other like animators while you're doing this, or is it really just there's a bunch of good ones like
to add yourself every day?
Well, I definitely, like, for sure, like if I was going to say who I was emulating, it would be, do you know Goro Fujita? Do you know who he is?
I do not.
What's that?
Spell that. How do you spell that?
Oh, it's Goro, and then Fujita is Fujita. Yeah, Goro Fujita. Like, he does like daily ones, and it completely blows my mind. Like, his daily ones blow my mind. Like, he will actually do a daily one, and I know he's spending more than 15 minutes, but still, he will animate it in, like, make it in Quill, model it, animate it in Quill, like export it to whatever he uses. I think he uses Octane Render to do his stuff, and then he will render it out, add music and sound, and then publish it. And he does that like every day. It's ridiculous.
Wow.
It's how fast he can move is ridiculous. And I'm telling you, like, people are sleeping on Quill, like they don't know it. Like, it is an absolutely stellar tool. Like, stellar tool. Like, it's so good. So good. And yeah, so I'm excited to use it. That's why I'm working on a show idea between me and some buddies. We're working on that, and it's going to take a long time, but that pipeline of going from there to Blender and then coming out, it's really exciting. Like, it's really interesting because it's creating, I think if you want to make like clean models and stuff, really clean, like pristine models, like a Pixar kind of a thing, like, it doesn't really work because Quill, like, takes a long time to make something pristine, but I don't really want to do it like that. Mine, because of the subject matter, I mean, granted, if you get to know me at all, I'm super weird. So, so this is going to be weird. And so the subject matter is more going to be akin to like the new Turtles movie or something like that. Did you see that?
I haven't seen it yet, but I've seen the look of it. It looks amazing.
Yes, like that kind of thing where it's like, well, actually, I got really excited when I saw that, and I bought the movie because I was like, I want this, because it was like a proof of concept for me. Like, it was a proof of concept that like that kind of style can resonate and things like that. So it's I'm excited. I'm excited to get into it. And then we have all these other ideas for things we're going to do too. Like, we thought of there's this thing in baseball games in the States where it's they have this thing called a dot race, and it's like these dots that are racing on the screen. They show it on like the Jumbotron, and everybody is like rooting for a certain dot, right? There'll be 5, and sometimes they're AI, so you don't know so even they don't know who's going to win, or sometimes they'll pick it ahead of time and stuff like that. But all the major, like, it's a thing that's like, they used to do dot races on the old billboards where they had light bulbs on the billboards, like back in like the 30s and stuff like that, and they would have the light bulbs. It would be somebody manually controlling them, right? So no one knew whether it was like the first line, second line, third line, or fourth line that was going to win. And so somebody in the back was flicking them on and off and like controlling it, right? So now it's persisted, that idea of like a dot race. So people will get like, it'll be like, if your dot wins, bring this to the counter and you can get like a free drink or something like that, like that kind of a thing. So one will be green, one will be blue, one will be red, or something like that. So there's it's kind of a weird thing, but it's just been a tradition that's kind of persisted in baseball. So but usually they suck so bad. Like, they're really dumb. Like, it's like they're just dots going around, or people have done 3D stuff, but it's not cool. Like, it's not like you know, so we want to try to approach some of the teams, like maybe the one here, like the Rangers here in I might go to the minor league teams first to see what they say to kind of, you know, see if we could maybe even do it for like a really low rate for them, and then use that as a way to kind of advertise it and stuff. But we want to do like a really cool one, you know, like characters like running and then bringing out big guns and being like whoosh, and like like a rocket, like blowing up the guy, like, and so then a slow-mo at the end where they're like going over the finish line, you know, like, and cool characters too. But I thought you could build, we were even thinking you could like build it in with the with the sponsors, right? So like Golden Chick in the Rangers, that's a restaurant here, like it's kind of like it's just like a chicken place, right? But they sponsor a lot of them. But we could make chickens, right? You could have like 5 different chickens that are there. Like one's like huge and bulky, and one's small, and then that would be like the advertisers would love that, because it's kind of not memorable. It says right now it's like sponsored by Golden Chick. That's all it says. Like this dot race is sponsored by Golden Chick. It's like, you know what I mean? It's like not, the impression doesn't stick. The impression doesn't stick. So anyways, we have a bunch of ideas, like, and I told my buddies, I was like, man, I was like, if we could get like an animation company going and do that kind of, I was like, oh my gosh, this would be so fun. This would be so fun. So we're trying. We'll see. It's slow going, but we this would be like the second job that we would have together doing this. Like we did that animation for that book and then did this. So we're trying. We're gonna see how it goes, you know.
Interesting.
But
do you think there's like a big market for like really fun and interesting advertising? Because I remember when I was growing up, I feel like there were a lot of fun and creative types of adverts out there. But now it's just loud and annoying and not particularly clever.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe it's just me.
Yeah, 100%.
Maybe I just had a stupider sense when I was younger, and I just thought things were much funnier than they actually were.
Right. Totally. I think there is, and I think the things that's changed it, honestly, is like it's one of those things where to do an animation like that even 10 years ago, like what we're doing, like wouldn't have been possible unless you were a big studio, right? So then what's happening is it's like that democratization of the process that's happening, and so big studios, like if they're working with if they need to have, you know, 40 people, 140, like a movie is like 400 people in the or 800 if you account the other studios in other countries or whatever, you know, it's like so many people on the effects teams and so many people do, you know, it's just massive amounts of people. And so when those kind of entities, like when advertisers approach them, it's sort of like, well, you know, minimum it's going to be like, you know, whatever, how many tens of millions of dollars or whatever. But when, you know, I can come with my buddies and be like, there's 3 of us, and yeah, we can do these dot races and we'll do them for like 80 grand or whatever, and like, yeah, we'll turn it around in like 2 months or whatever. It's like it's a different thing, right? You know, it's a different sort of. And now it isn't going to have we dispense with the idea that we can compete with those big ones, right? Like we dispense with that idea. We're like, it's not going to have the most like fully rendered, like, you know, amazing looking, like it's not going to be like pushing the graphics, you know, or pushing visual effects to a next level. It's not about that, but it's just about telling the story and doing it in a fun and interesting way. And it's all about the story. That's the thing. It's all about the story. It's all about like, so the quirkiness is like built into it and stuff like that. And so I think there's definitely room for that. I definitely do. I think it creates a better, like, because really what they're concerned about, advertisers are concerned about impression, right? They want to make an impression. And so if they can make an impression on people, then they've won, right? So that's what the whole you know, Super Bowl is about, right? It's like about making that impression, right? And all those impressions for people that you know talk about the ads afterwards and stuff like that. So that's the kind of thing. Like if I do that for a baseball game and everybody's used to seeing the dot race a very particular way, then all of a sudden they're going to be like, go home and be like, oh my gosh, there's this really crazy dot race. Like, and what I thought was like, I should start it by having it be the old dot race, like having it be the old dot race, like where it looks like just stupid dots, but then you zoom out and it's on a kid's like game. It zooms out to like the crowd, and then it's like a real deal, like in a coliseum, like a dot race, like, you know, like a
Wow.
crazy one. So it, you know, it's fun. It's like, you know, I'm having fun exploring the ideas, and I don't even know if any of that'll come to fruition, but man, we're trying. It's a blast, you know. And we'll see if I want to, if I'll ever want to do a game again, you know, after doing this. We'll see.
Yeah, that was my thinking about. I had this romanticized idea about doing a graphic novel or doing comics.
Yeah.
Stuff. And then I saw mates of mine do it and how much they struggled with that. I don't know if I have it in me to stick it out that long, and only to then realize, like, oh my gosh, that is a horrible process. I don't want to go through that again.
That's right. Well, again, I think it comes down to like scope, right? So like,
Yeah.
I think like if you want to kind of pursue that, like the same way this project, it seemed perfect for me because it's so small in scope. It's like one board with just like a couple different environments, like all mashed into one. And it's like a character running around. Like it's very, very small. So I thought this is perfect for me to like, you know, kind of dip my feet in, you know, and see what's, you know, what I think about, you know what I mean? Like what I, you know, what I think about it. And then, man, I might fall in love with it, man. I might fall in love with it and want to do more games. I know there's people that do like game that in the same way that we're doing like an art jam, they do like game jams, man. Like I have buddies that do it. Like they just make a game in a weekend. I'm like, what the heck? Do you know anybody that does that?
I don't know anyone personally. I know about a studio in where were they? Within The Hague or something, called Paladin Studios. And I think every now and then they do a kind of like hackathon, like gaming hackathon.
Right.
Try and knock something out within a week, I think.
It's so cool, man. Like that is so cool. I think, like that's.
I think
really
it's a common
fun
thing among programmers, like this idea of like knocking out a program. Or maybe I don't know who came first with that idea. They probably butt heads on that one. But I've seen it among computer programmers. This
yeah, it's like a jam session or whatever.
Yeah, get like basic proof of concept done in that time. Everything else can look better later.
Right, exactly. And see that's that's like what I'm kind of channeling that for the animation side of things, like that sort of a thing. So, man, and man, if I can get good at all those things, they really would work together. Like if I could get good at the game development side and get good at, you know, I already have the art side, like enough at least, you know, and then, you know, learn the animation side and learn, you know, and man, it could all work together where it'd be really fun, man. It'd be fun. Yeah. Like I said, I just like learning stuff too. Like learning stuff is the greatest. It's so fun. It gets me excited again. You know what I mean? Like it gets me excited and makes me want to like, you know, dive in like head first again. I don't know. I love that. Our gallery work sucked. Because I would come in like it was okay. Like it was good. At certain times it was good. It's nice to make like a huge painting and be able to sell that painting and stuff. And, you know, it works. It's fun, but they want you to do the same thing over and over and over again.
Yeah.
You know, so it's not in my nature, man, like to be like that. I just had to kind of get out of that. So
what sort of stuff were you doing for the gallery environment? Were you doing portraits there as well?
I would do portrait commissions from time to time. I've got funny stories about that. There's been some funny ones. I've like flat out, like I started to get tired of it. I can totally understand why Sargent kind of abandoned. He's just like, I'll just do a charcoal sketch of people. Like I'm tired of doing, you know, towards the end of his life, that's what he did. I get that. But there were some really good ones too. Like I mean, I had one guy that was like, it was like a $15,000 or $18,000 commission. It was huge. He wanted like a huge painting of his family. And I was like, okay. Well, I said, this is going to be like 15 or 18 grand, man. And he was like, oh yeah, I know, that's fine. And I was like, okay. And then, yeah, so that was the first thing that I was like, oh, okay. And then he's like, so I'm showing him like these composition ideas and stuff. I was like, we can go this route or go this route. He's like, this looks all really traditional. He's like, he's like, can we do something interesting? He's like, listen, he goes, I just want it to be a conversation piece. He's like, he's like, listen, I trust you. Just bring me something, an idea. And he's like, just make it interesting. He's like, I just want people to talk about it. And I was like, okay. I was like, this is the greatest commission I've ever received. I was like, this is so good. So I came to him and I said, I said to leave the background of the painting like unfinished, like a wash, and like to have character studies of his family. Like, so they're going down like from the tallest to like the shortest, like his son, and they're all character studies. So like his son was like pulling his mouth out, like, you know, because that's how like I spent time with each of them to learn how they were, and then got their personality. And I would talk to the parents and stuff like that, and they were like, oh yeah, he's totally like this and like this. And so I tried to capture each of them individually, and I nailed the likeness because I didn't have the background. Like I had time to just like absolutely slam the likeness and stuff. And so it turned out awesome, man. It was so good. So I've had good ones too, but I've had, you know, crappy ones too. But yeah, I would do that, and I would do whatever I was working on. I would sell like still lives. I would do a lot of still lives, or I would do like some landscapes and stuff like that. Whatever I was working on is what I would throw in there. But it tended to have a little bit more of a lean towards like still lives and portraits and landscapes. Like that would be like less landscapes, more of the other stuff, but in general, where I would end up.
Do you still do the odd still life?
I don't do too many still lifes anymore. I definitely paint in oils still occasionally. I need to get back to it more. I was like missing it. I did it at Lightbox. Like I painted my son Sam, and I was like, man, I need to get back to this again.
I saw that.
Yeah, that was fun. And I ran out of time. Like I didn't have much time, but it still was really, really fun to do that. But I don't do too many more still lifes. I was running out of like I had a whole idea for like a series of still lifes that I wanted to do. Like it's the story options that like really excite me. Like, and it's tough with still life, but I had an idea of like a series of still lifes that I could do. I wanted to do like a mixture of like real life elements with like made up elements. So I thought it would be really funny to like have Lego people be set up or whatever, and like they're in a Lego environment, but then the clouds above them or whatever, like the clouds and the lightning look like super real, you know, or something like that, you know, like mixing of like so that I would render the Lego people, like I'd paint them exactly as I saw it right on the still life, like just very realistic. But then have a cloud that's in there, something that doesn't belong. Like the cloud would be super real, and then maybe the lightning would be like line work, like on a comic or something, and like a mixture of all those elements. Like I think that kind of gives you an opportunity to tell stories that you don't have otherwise. You know, it's. I also thought of doing. I had all these like ideas, and the gallery would have never gone for them. Like they would have never gone. but I also thought of doing like full scale, like a graphic novel, but doing it on a canvas. So like painting like scenes, and then I thought of having each of the panels be set up like in parallax. So across the room. So you step back to the entrance of the room, and the panel of comic stuff is put together, right? Like at the doorway. It's like put together, but then as you walk into the room, they're like 10 or 15 feet apart and stuff. Like, do you know what I'm saying? Like set up, like that would be super cool. I thought like, so then maybe there'd be 3 panels, like 1, 2, 3. And when you stand back, you can see them, but then you can walk in between each of the panels and see them individually and stuff. I thought that'd be super cool. I thought that'd be really cool.
You weren't joking. You are crazy.
Yeah.
That sounds like quite a challenging project. Like awesome, but wow.
I know.
What a thing to like think about.
Yeah, I know, like maybe I'm like a masochist or something, you know, so maybe that's why. but you know, but animation and stuff like that like kind of combines all that. Like, you know, you can tell stories and you can do whatever you want, really. You know, you can kind of do whatever you want. You build the sets and you build all the stuff, which is fun. But man, I really would like to do that someday. Like go back to that, like have a traditional, maybe if I ever get time where I can work on like just like have a really long time to work on like my own projects, I would do something like that. Or maybe just do one panel like a year or something like that. I could work on one panel a year or something and get it done. Whoa. You know, and then maybe when I have the 8, I can do a show after like 8 years or something. You know, I don't know. It's fun.
To start up your own gallery for it, because I don't think anyone else will have the patience.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I know. Well, I'd have to anyways, because they wouldn't light it right, and they wouldn't like. That's what always happens. I'm like, I was like looking to try to frame my paintings myself until I found this one guy, because I was like, everybody sucks at framing. I was like, they all suck at framing, like, and they charge so much, and I was like, I can do this. I can do this myself. I was like, so I was like, let me get the tools. So I actually had like I ended up selling it because I just, going away from the gallery system and stuff like that. But I had a huge like frame cutter that I got, like, and stuff like that. And I was like, it's not hard. It's not hard, but it's just like getting the stock is annoying. Like, getting the stock of the frames, it's really annoying, but you have to kind of do it yourself, unfortunately. Like, it's not, I just don't, when I find somebody that's really good at something, then I just use them for everything. But it's just hard to find somebody that's really, really good. I don't know. Most people don't care about doing a good job. They just don't, I don't know. That's why I fix my car myself anytime I can. What's that?
And that's why the car stays unoperational in the garage for the next 10 years.
Right. I know, right? Well, I'll get in there. Like, I'll say, like, so I changed, like, so there's on our van, when we had our minivan, there's something called the half shaft. So off of the transmission, you have the drive shaft. You know what I'm talking about? Like, so
yes.
like well, there's drive shaft, but then you have the axle. I mean, like, there's the axle coming off the transmission that goes to the wheel. So like the engine spins, the transmission spins, and then you got to get that spin to the wheel somehow. So there's like this thing that goes there. Well, on the van, it normally, like on sports cars and stuff, it'll be equal on either side, but the van, because the engine and the transmission have to be in the front, it has something called a half shaft. So one side is longer than the other. So they put, like, it's kind of like Legos. They like put something in between, right, to make it fit. And so I wanted to change that half shaft because it went bad. And so I was like, I'm going to do this myself. This was like one of the first jobs that I was like, besides changing the oil and stuff like that, I was like, I'm going to do myself. And so I get in there, I get under the car, and I look at all the YouTube videos, and I was like, okay, so then I got to do this and do this. And I get under there and I'm like, what's that? I'm like, why is there shielding here? And why is there this? And I'm like, that's not on the video. And I'm like, I had the same year and the same like model and the same year that they were talking about, and it didn't look like that. And I was like, okay, crap. So then I had to figure out how to get to this one. It was one bolt. Like the rest of them, it's always one bolt. And the more I've worked on cars, it's always one bolt. And so I got to that. I got this tool that would allow me to get to that one bolt. Got it off. So of course, it would have taken a mechanic like probably 4 hours to do it, and it took me like 9. But we did it. My son was under there with me. We did it, and I learned a good, valuable lesson that day. About what what to do and what not to do, but like how to plan, like time wise, because my wife in her wisdom was like, it's probably not going to take you like 4 or 5 hours. Like, even though if you see that on the YouTube video, I was like, oh, I could probably do it, and I was like, yeah, no, it was double. So, but I've done a lot of things since then, man. Like I need to change the clutch on I need to swap out the clutch and do, like, when you're in there, you can do a lot of other things. There's something called the rear main seal and some other things that you can change at the same time. And so my brother-in-law is really good with cars. Like, he knows cars. So I just get I like consult with him, and I get the parts, and I'm going to do that. And the clutch, I may get someone else to do though, because it's kind of an annoying job. So I could do it, but it's an annoying job. So, but it's fun, man. It's fun being able to do that. Like, like I at our house in Pennsylvania, I did our swapped out all the pipes in the house and stuff like that, because I kept having all these leaks. And I mean, it was an old house, so we had tons and tons and tons of leaks. And so I told my wife, I was like, I mean, if I was going to hire a plumber to do that, oh my gosh, it would have been like $15,000 or something. It would have been really expensive. And so I just asked my buddy, I was like, what should I get? And he's like, get PEX pipe and do this. And he's like, it's not bad. You can just do this. And he's like, it's really just like getting in all the places and doing that. So I just ripped out all the pipes. It was all copper piping. I just took it all out and put them all in. I told my wife, I was like, go on vacation. So she went on vacation with the kids for like 3 days over the weekend. That's just all I did for like 14 hours a day. And I finished it. She came back and I installed a tankless water heater and, stuff like that. But see, stuff happens. Like, I went to install the tankless water heater, and it was like, I was like about to like plug it in electrically, right? And I go, that I was like, this connection doesn't look like that. I was like, this is not. I was like, this can't be right. And so I write my dad, um, you know, I'm moving into a place that the previous owner also liked to fix the irrigation themselves. Oh, yes. So that's the thing. That has been quite a headache. Yes. Well, that actually happened to me too. A mountain pirate. Like I had to redo the whole bathroom in my house, like in the house I moved into in Pennsylvania, because they wanted to quote upgrade it, and they didn't seal it properly, and they like put like, dude, I had to rip out the whole shower. But see, the difference with me and what I do is I go right to the source. So like I tell people, I'll even go to buddies and say, hey, can I pay you like $100 to like sit with you for an hour, just like on a weekend? Can you just explain to me what I need to do and really talk through like all the process, like what's going to be required and what I don't want to do? And just sitting with an expert for like an hour, like is usually enough to really like to know what not to do and what to do. And then they'll also tell you, you can't do it. Like you can't do this, or you can do this, or yeah, you can do it, but you're going to have to do this. You have to get this tool, get that. And I'm like, okay, that's good. You know, so they'll give you like the lowdown, right? You know, and so, but yeah, I had that when I moved into. But I left that place when I put in the pipes, man. I secured them properly. I put them in, like I used PEX. I used the longest run I could, so that there were no like crimps, like no places for it to leak and all that stuff. That guy got a good. He got a good situation. But yeah, but I went to put in that that tankless water heater, and I was like, this isn't right. And so I asked my dad. He's like, oh, he goes, that he said you need to get different wiring. So I needed to get like way thicker gauge wiring, and what that required then was I had to go out to the box, my electrical box, and I had to add an extension to my electrical box because I needed the space to put those extra like high gauge wires on it and stuff. So I had to do all that, and like, you know, but again, like I said, I had people to fall back on. And people that could help me, tell me what to do. And they would come over for like a half an hour and be like, oh, you have to do this or do this or do this. And then I was able to do it. So it was good. So it was fun, man. So, you know, but yeah, I say whenever I can, I want to do it myself. Whenever I can.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know.
I think that question.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt the story there.
No, go for it. I need to stop talking. I want to hear you say some stuff now. What's first?
Art of Saying is asking what comes first, interesting ideas or learning art fundamentals? I have basic fundamental knowledge, but I don't have interesting ideas. When I ask other people how I come, but when I ask people how could I come up with interesting ideas, the answer is always fundamentals.
Yeah. What do you want to field it first? I have some ideas about this. If you want to take it first, what you think, or if you want me to go, tell me.
Yeah. No. So I mean, for me, yeah, the fundamentals I think takes a certain amount of pressure off with trying to figure out ideas, because we get quite attached to ideas. For me, I feel like it stands a little bit in the way of actually learning if I get too tied up in, oh no, it has to look good. So I kind of try and find a balance between the two. If there is a bit of an idea, then I'll try and do studies before that. Like, okay, wait, I don't know how to do a gold helmet on this character, so I'm just going to do some sphere studies of material, trying to understand the lighting and the change of color temperature in different lighting situations. So I feel like doing the fundamentals it does help to get the ideas moving for me. But even while coming with ideas, I always have to go back just to kind of prepare myself for whatever the big idea is. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think that's good. Man. I think that's good advice for sure. And it totally resonates with like what you're saying. Totally resonates too. Like from like a practicality standpoint, like that's kind of that's and I think like people. So I actually saw Louis Gonzalez. He's like head of story and he has like a number of hats, I think, at Pixar, but I saw him at Lightbox, and I taught a workshop in Ireland with Schoolism, and he was there too. And I sat in for all his talks because he's such a beast. He's like such an absolute beast. And I asked him afterwards, I was like, hey man, if you're gonna hire somebody like at Pixar, like, you know, to do kind of what you do, I said, what do you look for? Because it was really interesting, because his drawings were like really quick drawings, like really loose, super loose. He was showing us stuff for Ratatouille and it was like so loose, and I was like, and really just like, I mean, really rudimentary, and I thought it was fascinating. So I said, what do you look for? And he goes, a point of view. And I said, what do you mean? And I said, what do you mean? And he goes, you need a point of view, like you need a take. He's like, I need somebody that has a point of view. So and I said, he was like, that's like so much better than like the technical side. He said, like, you know, they can demand the technical side too, because they're Pixar, you know, they can demand that someone has both, you know, and they can get that. But more importantly is the point of view. And so I think my answer to like, if someone has the skills and the fundamentals and they don't have interesting ideas, I think you need to go do stuff. Like, I know that sounds like, really simple, but like, I think like having kids has helped me see the world in a different way. I think like working on cars like gives me an insight into the mechanics of how something works. Like that gives me insight, right? I think like with animation, like fighting, like actually doing MMA and fighting and feeling it and understanding what the stance is and understanding how it feels when you get hit and what happens to your body and stuff like that, how you compensate and what, you know, like all that. If I want to animate a fight scene, which I will eventually, like I'll have an insight into that other people wouldn't have, but also I have more ideas, right? So like I have a project that I'm considering, you know, and kind of working around, like where I want to do like key moments of the UFC, because I do gestures of the fight team there. So this is a good example, right? So what did I say? I need to get better at doing figure gestures. So then I said, oh, I've got a fight team right here. I've got models that are moving, that like, and they're kind of half dressed, right? Their arms are exposed, and you know what I mean? I'm like, this is great, right? So I go there and I start doing gestures, right? Well, there's a guy that's the striking coach, comes over and he's like, what are you doing? And I was like, oh, I'm drawing. I said, I'm trying to understand it from out there and understand it from over here too. Like understand, you know, what you guys are doing. And I said, it's helping me. I said, I need to work on my anatomy and all this stuff like a lot. And I said, this is helping. So he was like, that's really cool. And he was like, you're really kind of capturing the beauty of what's going on, like the flow of it, and like almost like a ballet kind of a thing. And I said, yeah. And I said, that's the side that a lot of people don't see of that. They just see the violence. But so then he was like, man, you should do a book. He's like, you should do a book on this kind of like, and talk about like the art side of martial arts. And I was like, I could do that. And I was like, I could take key moments of the UFC and like make like, you know, versions of like big things that happened, right? And then draw them out in the gestural side, do some like paintings, make a book out of that, right? And I was like, man. And he's like, well, I know Dana White. He's like, let me know when he's like, I'll help you present it to, you know, and he's like, I'll be a consultant on it, because he's like a striking coach. And so he knows, he can look at my stuff and say, that's not right. Like that's not, you know, that form isn't right for what they're doing. And that's not, you know, he can look at it from a fighting perspective and say that. And then I've got buddies that are way, way better at anatomy that I could ask them about the anatomy side and say, is this jiving? Is this working? You know? And so anyways, but my whole point is like, I don't know if that'll come to fruition or whatever. I'm having fun doing it, but it started with me saying, I need to get better at figure drawing. And yeah, I could sit home and have like, you know, pictures and look at stuff, which I do. I get pictures of the UFC and stuff like that. But I said, let me get out, like, let me take a little bit of extra effort. Let me get out. Let me try to do it from life and take this kind of risk or whatever. And, you know, and kind of try to do this stuff. And then it led to that idea and that sort of a thing. And then also one of the fighters, I'm doing a banner for him. He loves Pokemon, and he comes out, he's an absolute killer. And he comes out to the Pokemon theme song. It's so epic. It's hilarious because he's an absolute, he just dominates, and it's awesome. So I'm doing like a banner of him, almost like a comic cover, like where he's in the front, like Pokemon are around, and it's like his sponsors that are on the, like it's the banner that he's going to hold, you know? So like that came about from that too and stuff like that. And I would have never combined Pokemon and MMA on my own. Like it just wouldn't have happened like that. I mean, what? Like I never would have done that. So I really think get out there, experience things, like do stuff, like go skydiving, right? Like go, like not even skydiving. It's like walk in the park and look at the trees, like grab the leaves, pick them up, look at them, smell them, like look at what the animals are doing, like look at the ground. Like I was telling a student one time, they said, well, like, I just don't understand because it's hard to generate ideas. And I said, like, if I was in jail, what am I going to talk about? And I said, I'll tell you what you could do. I said, you could have a whole show based around you. I said, what is the primary feeling of being in jail? They're like, boredom. I was like, exactly. I was like, the whole show could be that. I said, you could have a huge, like, 5-foot painting that is just the texture of the wall, like, faithfully represented. And there's one fly on the wall. And that's it. Like, that fly is like, you know what I mean? Like so all the different peeling paint and all that stuff. I said, you could have a painting of this window. I said, basically what you could do is have a show. And when people come into the show, they understand what it feels like to be in a jail cell. Like, you would give them that feeling. Like, you would get that across, and people would leave the show saying, dang, like, jail sucks, right? Like, this is really sucky, you know? I was like, that's an amazing show. Like, that's an amazing show. And they were like, okay, whatever. And I was like, but you know, it's all how you look at it and stuff. So anyways, like I said, it's like, experience things, do things, like, really look at things, think about things. And that would be my take. That would be like if you have fun, like, fundamentals are just going to open it up so that you like technique is the vehicle for expression, right? Technique is the tool you use to communicate. So, but you have to have something to communicate first. You have to have something to say. Like, you should know the name of the painting, or the like, you should know what you want to say with the painting. Not for a study like this, what we're doing here or whatever. I mean, maybe even for this too, but you know, you should have at least a goal. The goal for me here is to, like, you know, make sure that I can speak and paint at the same time, and also, like, you know, kind of do a faithful study and you know, that kind of thing. And so but I think you have to have something interesting to say, and that comes from living it. So, however, these days, I missed that one. So experience something, and you'll see something stick. Like, give yourself an opportunity, like, and then notice people too. Like, you'll meet weird, strange people in your life, right? Weird people that, like, everyone else is like, man, stay away from that guy. I'm usually like, man, I need to do some research. You know, like, can I go talk to that guy? Like, I go ask questions to him and stuff, and be like, what makes you tick, right? You know, like this is like, what makes you tick? Like, man, like, and I'll be like, I had an accountant that totally screwed us, and I was like I was at the point where I was like crying because we owed so much money because he didn't do our thing right. And, like, it's a whole story. Like, it's a whole story. We're coming out of it now. We're coming out of it. It's a whole story and a whole thing. But I'm gonna eviscerate him in fiction, like they said in what's that movie? A Knight's Tale. Do you know what I'm talking about, Ryan? Where he's he's like, I'm gonna eviscerate him in fiction. I'm gonna make a character in my show, like, you know, his name is Davis, and I'm gonna make the character, like, live upstairs, and he's an accountant, and he's just like, everyone hates him. And then somebody comes down, he's like, hey guys, they're like, shut up, get out of here, we all hate you, like, you know, that kind of thing. He's just the character that, like, everybody hates, and for, you know, he's just real quiet, does that, but everybody hates him. So I'm like, that's coming out of my personal experience. So so like, pull from what you know. If you're a teenager and you're angsty and you're stuck inside, and you, like, your parents are, you know, bugging you, then write about that. If you're a construction worker and you hate your job because, like, you have this boss that's, like, ridiculous, then make a show about a construction worker that has, like, but then go make it overboard, right? Make the boss like a goblin, you know, and make it, you know, and then, or even just, you know, make a whole scene with a goblin that's, like, torturing people, and you're just using your situation at your construction job as inspiration. You know, I think that's the key thing. I think that, and then it'll really resonate with people. Like, people will be like, dang, this is good. Like, you know, and you're smiling the whole way. Like, this is, you know, I don't know. That's how I approach it. That's how I take it. But technique is really just there so you have the tools. Yes, family pets can be a good story inspiration. That's so good. That's so good. I love that. Totally. 100%.
I saw Vince mentioned limitations as well, and, like, asking a lot of questions about what you want to be drawing, what the purpose of the thing is, what the story is. But in the way of limitations, I remember seeing a video by Jake Parker. I've mentioned it before on stream, where it was about draw 100 somethings. And I think it's a common design challenge where your job is to draw a chair, and you've got to draw 100 chairs, but you've got to make them all different.
I like
And
that.
you get out all the initial ideas, like they come out first, all the obvious stuff, and then you start like
Right.
having to dig deeper to pull out something more interesting.
Oh, I love that.
To push
I
those
love
boundaries
that.
of form and function. So find a spoon, a teacup, or something. Start with that. Start with something simple, and then go at it. Just try and draw like 100 of them. Don't stop until you.
Dude,
stop,
that's
take a break.
gold. What you just said right there. I hope you guys are listening to what Ryan is saying. That's complete gold. Like that's really good.
I can't take credit. That's Jake Parker from Inktober.
You remembered it. You remembered it though.
Okay, I'll take credit for memory for once.
Yes, you can. You can. It counts. It counts, man. It counts. Well, that's how all knowledge is. It like gets absorbed, and then you're like, "Who said that? I can't remember." And it's kind of just like that. But yeah, dude, that's
Andy,
awesome.
I don't
That's
enjoy drawing boring stuff.
What's that? What'd you say?
I said Andy pointing out there. I don't enjoy drawing boring stuff. Well, boring is subjective, and you make it interesting. I think that's the point of that exercise.
The thing.
You take the boring and you push it.
Yes, and listen, like, so think about it like this, right? It's like I'm trying to think of like what would be like a so if I just said, well, there's like these lizards and there was a chameleon that was a pet and he's a lizard now, and he's going out to the desert, and it's like this community that's out there of lizards that want water, and it's like a community around water, right? That sounds kind of stupid, like, or not. I mean, I can say it in a way that's like boring, right? But then it's like, okay, it's Rango, right? And it's like, oh, it's a Western. It's like a spaghetti Western kind of a thing, but with a chameleon or a lizard, and all this. And it's like, there's the maiden that needs help, and there's the, there's the guy's a rattlesnake, and like all of a sudden it starts to get fleshed out, and it's super cool, right? I love that movie. I think that movie's so good. And it's like, but maybe when you first get the idea, it's not that interesting, right? And so I don't know. I agree with you. I think, well, I used to say this to my kids, like, and it's this. I think this applies to art as well. Is my kids would be like, I'm bored. Like it would be summer, and they'd be like, I'm bored, and I would say, if you're bored, you're boring, right? I'm like, you're a boring person if you're bored, because there's so much that's interesting. And I used to tell them, like, they'd be like, oh, okay, whatever, Dad. They're like, you're interested in everything. They're like, that doesn't count or whatever. I was like, well, you could be too. And they're like, what am I going to do in the backyard? I said, there is a whole ecosystem in the backyard. I was like, an entire ecosystem that you could study, like, ants, like all this. I said, maybe you should plant something. I said, we have a backyard. Maybe you should plant something. I was like, start growing things. I was like, what about the birds? Go bird watching in the backyard. I was like, put a bird feeder back there. I was like, listing all these things. I was like, throw a football around. I was like, build a mini football field. I was like, dude, and they were like, okay, Dad, whatever. And I was like, you're boring. I was like, you're boring. I was like, because it's like,
the correct answer was a new game. A new
right. Yeah, that's right. So that's so funny. Yeah. So I think there is a side to it where it's like, animators, like they always say take what you're doing and amp it up, and then times it by 10, and then times it by 100, right? So it's like, if you've got a chair, like you said, or you've got something that is really boring, well, it's like, then you get through the initial ones, like you said, but then you start thinking, well, what is a chair, right? Like, what does a chair do? And like, and then you start thinking, like, well, how could I? Okay, well, there's electric chairs. Like, there's electric chairs, and there's, and there's like, well, what if I made a chair alive? Or what if I, you start thinking like, well, a toilet technically is a chair too. Like, what if, it's, you start thinking outside the box, like, and you start thinking about all sorts of different things. What you said is really good though, man. Like that's really good. I'm going to take that and put that in my pocket. Like, just about doing that, like taking the same thing and doing it over and over. Like, I think that's awesome. I think that's so good. I think that is epic, honestly. I think that's great. So
I'll see if I can find that video and I'll post it here. Draw 100.
Yeah, I want to see it. That's great. A toilet is a chair. Yeah, that's right. You can quote me on that. That's true. Yeah, you can quote me on it. That's my legacy. My legacy. A toilet is a chair. I have so many quotes that could be like destructive to me from like my Twitch streams that I used to do and stuff like that. Like I have so many quotes and things like if just out of context or whatever, like just oh man. Probably today. I probably have lots of quotes that be problematic.
Maybe.
Kind of imagine that, you know, I just like, okay, whatever.
Yeah, there, Frank saying anything you can sit on is a chair. You know, your little
That's
brother.
right. Yeah.
Put your counter.
That's right. Like imagine if you painted a person like the man chair, and it's a dude like in the shape of a chair that like people, you know, like that's funny, right? And then you start thinking about that, and you're like, okay, what about like if you took like a bunch of dogs or like piglets and like arranged them in the shape of a chair, you know, like like all glued together or whatever, like epoxied into it, you know, dude. There's like, I mean, there's so many options like with the chair and stuff. Like when you really start getting into it, like that's so fun, man.
Yeah, I've kind of lost track of time here. Yeah.
I know, me too. We're having fun.
20 minutes or so. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. We'll stop in like. Everybody kind of put some finishing polish on there. We'll stop in like 24 minutes. I want to stop. I want to take a look and look at what everybody's doing. I want to see what's going on. I want to give her a tattoo before I do that, though. I want to give her a tattoo. Let's give her the magma tattoo. Let's do like the fun.
Oh, nice.
I'm gonna do that. Hold on. I'm gonna go magma logo. I'll grab it and bring it back in. Magma.com logo. So I can move quicker. Here we go. I just pull it from. So.
Well, cheers, Niran. I see you there. Glad you had fun.
Oh yeah. Let's grab this.
If I recall, you had a what was it? My words. One of the modules on your textures class was on doing tattoos on skin.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah, it's yeah, so it's like tattoos and like blood, you know, like scarring and like different things like that. Yeah, I that was a fun one. Like I wanted to know, like early on, I wanted to know how all that worked, like how, you know, when I was doing textures, like I wanted to really figure that out, and so I you know, did that one, and then for that class, it was a fun one because you could like, it's fun to be able to put a tattoo of anything on someone. Like it's when you kind of get the hang of it and you understand value-wise what to do, it's super fun. You know, I don't know, I love that. But yeah, that was one of the things, and I also had I think I can put this as like a, I'm gonna make this like a overlay or like a multiply or something. Yeah, there we go. That'll work. Yeah, I've got like sunburn on there and stuff too. I've got that as well.
Nice.
Like I've got some other things. It's fun, man. Because it's just like like if you can break it down to what the sort of, you know, like kind of break it down to like the simplest way you can think about it. If you've got a, you know, if you've got like a certain kind of texture you want to capture, if you can like understand how it works and then break it down very simply in your mind, you can use it whenever you want, right? So I wanted to be able to have a character and not have to look up sunburn and look up like cuts and look up like those kinds of things like stubble and different things like that. I wanted to just have it at my disposal and understand it. So it's been fun to utilize that. I love textures. I love those. I fell in love with that. I was just doing it to try to you know, learn myself, and then it ended up turning into a class and everything, which is crazy. So
that's a great class. I got through a good chunk of it. It doesn't show, but I remember thoroughly enjoying it. I do need to go back to it. I thought it was such a good class.
Oh, that's awesome, man. Yeah, that's awesome.
I always felt like stoked with my result, like at the end of it, like you get these little balls, like holy shit, it actually does look like the material.
Yeah, yeah, it's fun, right? And I think like more of it is like really, and even if you do like a couple of those lessons and stuff like that, you start to get a feeling for like for the uh for the understanding of what you need to do. You know what I mean? Like that's the
Yeah.
key part of it, is like understanding what you need to do and understanding like the reasoning behind it. I think that's the key thing. So yeah, like even if you did a couple lessons, like you'll start to get a feel for like how I approach it. Then I think that's the key thing, is like is really getting in the mentality. Because once you get in the mentality, then you can study all new textures, even ones that I don't cover there. But the ones I cover kind of
Yeah.
are like can be used for a lot of other things. You know, Jello is the same as anything that's like translucent, right? It's kind of very similar, so you can use a lot of those things. But here, I want to erase this. That's okay. There we go. And then can I do this? I want to see if I can get this. Let's see. Well, I'll just come over top of this. Actually, I was going to try to do. I was going to try to do some layer trickery in here in Magma, but I was like, nah, forget it. I'm just going to paint it straight up. Just gonna paint it straight up. But yeah, that class was fun, man, and like doing those textures was really fun. Like that was a surprise to me. Like that turned into that. Like I was shocked. Like, and then Bobby's like, you should do your class on, because I was asking him, hey, what do you want me to do next or whatever, and he's like, I was like, what do you think? And he's like, well, you're doing all those textures, man. He's like, you should do a class on that. I was like, should I? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, okay, I guess that would be kind of cool. I was like, yeah, that would be kind of cool. I was like, let's do it, and then started building it up and coming up with like, kind of really just fleshing out the system that I'd already sort of created in my head, for how I handle it. So, I mean, I always like to break everything down to like what's going to work the best and all that. What were you going to say? Sorry.
Yeah. How did it come about, you doing your courses on Schoolism? Did you know Bobby beforehand, or did he approach you out of the blue?
Yeah, I can't remember if he contacted me or I contacted him. I can't remember, but we started talking again. Like, it had been a long time. We met a long time ago at like I would go to these workshops, these conceptart.org workshops, like an old website, conceptart.org. I used to post on there. I was like Mind Candy Man on there. Which is a funny like, I would have picked a better name, but I was like, I was a Mind Candy Man on there. And so they started that like online like blog type of thing like started to gain momentum. So they were doing like workshops, and they were doing like all these different things. And so I met him at one of those workshops in like the upper area of one of those where all the guys that I looked up to were hanging out and stuff. And so he was there too, and he was kind of just starting his career, sort of. He was a little further than me, I think, but he wasn't, the behemoth that he is now, and he so we met in that room, and then I hadn't heard from him for a long time, and then finally I was like, I got in touch with him again, and I was like, hey, remember that? I was like, remember that workshop and this and that? And we were like talking and stuff, and he was like, hey, he might have said it. Maybe he said, well, you should teach something at Schoolism or whatever. And this was a while ago at Schoolism, like a while ago. So, and I said, really? I said to him, I said, I'm kind of classical. And I said, I don't know, man. Like, do you think I would fit in and all that stuff? He's like, well, no, that's the cool part. He's like, we need somebody that's like seeing it differently. Like, it needs to be a different perspective, And I was like, oh, okay. I said, well, maybe, And so that's when I said, let me see if I can put something together. And so I just sort of said, let me try to condense everything that I learned in my training. Let me try to condense that down to, like a class that's, like that was the essentials of realism, where it was like my whole classical training just condensed down to, like a really short class and stuff. So yeah, it was fun, man. It was like, it was good to do, and I really enjoyed it. I loved it. So I'm gonna refresh real quick. I think sorry guys, I'm gonna refresh because I think it was doing something weird. I want to see if maybe it was the layering, like how I did it, but okay. I'm gonna take this layer back from you. Sorry. Oh, okay, I can just make a new one. Yeah, don't worry. It's saying I have to ask, so don't worry. I don't care. I'll just make a new one because we're about to end anyways. It's fine. Yeah, I did
Oh, well, I
something
made you an
weird.
admin. You should be able to do
Okay,
it.
thanks. Perfect. Yeah, I did something weird because I'm like trying to draw on it, and it was being like really like I wasn't able to get it like full transparency. So let me go here and see if it's. No. Oh, I know what it is. Duh. That's so funny. Get this, guys. I went in and I was putting it. I didn't even realize I wasn't even thinking about it. I went in with the tattoo and I put it on the photo. I put it on the photo. I wasn't even putting it on the. That's so stupid. That's me talking and.
It's
not
such a
paying
flex.
attention.
Oh, my art.
That is not a
like
yeah, I know. I know.
photo.
I didn't mean to. I didn't mean to. Like, it's no. Then you go over to mine and mine's like so loose and stuff. That's really funny. That's funny. All right, I'm getting rid of this whole layer. I'm getting rid of this whole layer. Like, no, that was just me being stupid. That's what that was. You know, for sure. Because I was like, why? I was like, why is it coming in like so light? I was like, why is everything so light? I was like, so weird. But it might still be doing it. I wonder if it is doing it. Let's see here. That might be. Hold on. Maybe I'll go to like a layer above. Yeah, it's like I can't get past a certain opacity. Really weird. Let me grab a different brush and see what happens. Yeah. Can't. Let me see. Yeah, I'm getting like a weird. Let me switch to here, and then I'll switch back to this. It's really weird.
I mean, it's just that the
Make it
brush is
100.
really tiny.
Oh, it could be. I guess it could be. Oh, there. Oh, yeah, that's it. That's it, man. I had it too small. I had it too small. Watch. If I have it too small, see, it's like. But then if I just make it bigger, I'm not even changing the opacity. Look at that. Interesting. So I was assuming that it was interesting. That's interesting. Okay, cool. Now I'm on track. Jeez, guys. Sorry. I'm gonna put a heart. I'm gonna put a heart on her arm. Let's do that. Okay. Darker. I want to take some time too. I want to see what everybody else is doing. I wanted to do this tattoo so then I could see what everybody else is doing. But I'm botching it by being an idiot. Okay, here, let me put this in and then I want to see what everybody else is doing. That tattoo on it. Okay, let me see. I want to take a look. First I want to look at this canvas and see what we got. Nice. So good. Get rid of this. Yes. Awesome.
That's so cool, Vince.
I love it. Is Ven's in the bottom right? Up here? Is that? Yeah, that's it. Yeah, there he is. I knew that was Ven's. I know that's so cool, Ven's. I love it. Love it. Oh, nice. Like somebody's doing like it almost looks like a 3D version of like that's super cool. Like a 3D like
yeah, that really vibrates.
Yeah, it's like it has that like that's super cool. Ven's always kills it. Ven's always kills it. He draws so much better than me. So much better than me. These are great.
Awesome.
Nice. Everybody's like really color-wise and value-wise is like killing it. Everybody's like really nailing it. Nice. I love it. See, and this is an example of what you were saying, Ryan, where like you have the same subject, but you just have a whole bunch of different takes on it. A whole bunch of different takes.
Yeah,
on it.
yeah. Awesome.
Oh, thanks, Vens. You're nice, man. You're nice. Yeah, but I need you to start returning the favor. You know, I need you to start like teaching me how the heck you do what you do. Like, what the heck, man? Like, it's awesome. It's so good. So good. I want to see what we got going. Nice. Whoa, that's cool. Somebody's drawn like this, like a creature from another dimension too. It reminds me of like the Wind in the Door, like what was the first book? It was gosh, I'm having a brain fart. Oprah was in the movie and it was a horrible movie. They made a really bad version of A Wrinkle in Time, which I loved that book. Like when I was a kid, like Madeline Engel made that book and it's so cool. A Wrinkle in Time, and they totally botched it. It was so bad. I knew when Oprah was going to be in it, I was like, that's not, yeah, no. No offense to her, but I'm like, you're not an actress. Like, that's not, you know, it'd be like me being an actor, like, just because I've been around film, sort of, you know.
Interviewed actors.
Right, right.
Oh,
Right. These are great.
so
Nice,
cool.
guys. Nice. Okay, let me see what
I
else
love
we
that there's
got.
a piece from behind as well. It's like the same model, but from behind.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I
Very cool.
love that. That's so, yeah, that's super cool. Love it.
And
Love it.
non-slave flexing.
That's really fun too.
Stuff.
That's super fun.
Cute.
Body base from Google. That's kind of related, somewhat. Kind of going a different route, but it's like. And then, do you have anything on your canvas? Okay, these are just there for in case.
Oh yeah. That
Okay, cool.
I set those up in the beginning.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right,
is
nice,
not
awesome.
Ooh,
I'm gonna give
sweet.
her a let's give her a like a mustache. Let's do like a, because I was talking about doing a mustache at first. Let's do a mustache. I'm gonna do another layer and scent. Take this mustache and I'm just gonna kind of get it in place and then adjust the lighting with like a selection, like that kind of thing. I want it to be a little more fluffy. I don't want a tangent there with the goggles though. Let's do this. Let's get this. It'd be even creepier if it like had that space in between. You know how people have like a mustache and they have that space in between.
Yeah.
The two side. You know what I'm talking about? Like, that's so weird.
Yes.
It looks really odd to me. Like, I think that looks odd. Let's have this come up. We go like that. Okay, so let me lock the opacity here. And then I'm going to use a softer brush for this. Let's make them darker. There we go. And then let's have this getting hit up here. I'm kind of like, you know, tying it into the pink motif kind of a thing. Let's go here. Let's get a hit there. On the streams, when I would do streams on Twitch and stuff like that, I would always do like put like a monocle on characters, and it became like a joke where I would just like add a monocle for whatever reason, because I was like, there's one way to make it classy. I was like, put a monocle on it.
Of course.
Of course. Instant classy. All right, so let me take off this. Let's paint some textural stuff. I think there's some good brushes in here. Like one of these, like that brush is pretty cool. We're doing like fuzzy. I think it goes with whatever direction you go. I think. Oh no, it stays. There's one that. This is the one. That one goes whatever direction you. But that's a cool.
Yeah.
That's
It's
a cool
got
brush too.
It locks to the shape direction.
Yeah.
It follows
yeah.
the direction. Yeah.
So it kind of gives like a real, like a fuzzy kind of a texture to that like breakup pattern. It kind of it's nice. Especially if you keep the brush small, it kind of like it gets really kind of fuzzy like that. It's just fun. I always like the silhouettes are really important to me. Like I always like to make sure, and that's a lot of what I talk about. Like in that texture class, that's one of the big things too. Is like the silhouette is huge, and so you can really convey the texture. A lot of it can be conveyed just through the silhouette. Just through the silhouette, you can convey so much. Get this here like that. Like if the silhouette is fuzzier, it's like carved back in a lot of times too. Like just to make it look a little bit fuzzier, or look like, it works really well that way. I think give it like a shadow on this. I think this will be darker given the environment, and you might only This would be, it'd probably be a little cooler. Like they'd probably be a little more purple. Like, cause it would be, I think there'd be more of a blue kind of overtone to everything. So it would end up being a little more purple because I think the room would sort of, you know, come in. Watermelon, where's your art? Is it on this? Please? Yeah, of course. Sure. Where is it? Is it on this page? On this page? Let's put a cast shadow on there, like for that mustache right there. Let's put a cast shadow coming off that. Make it, you know, this is fun.
I love the level of thinking going into this mustache.
I know, right? I know. That's 100%. It's like, let's for real. And then I need this. I need there to be like stray stuff. There would be like stray stuff. But she doesn't look like the type that would use like the wax. You know, I think there'd be more stray stuff. Okay, let me see. Watermelon. These are awesome. That's so good. Where's your stuff, Watermelon? Where's your stuff? Didn't I look at it? I thought I looked at everybody's, right?
It's on the sequence. It's the one, the girl with the red. What do you call this?
Oh, this one.
Coming out of
this one. This one. Oh yeah. I mean, it's a good start. Like it's good pose and good start, and yeah. I mean, you're not getting into rendering or anything yet, but there's a good position on the hand right here and stuff like that. Yeah, it's coming along. It's. I mean, it's like it's almost like a vector sort of style where it's like, you know, just 2D shapes. You know, so then it really comes down to like the design of the shapes and like making sure that those shapes are interesting and dynamic and flow and things like that. So that's going to be the key thing for that. So, but yeah, it's a good start. I gotta get this to lighten up a little bit on the top here. Some of the texture for that, and maybe I should give her a goatee too. A little bit of a goatee. Like the Van Dyke, like, you know, the Van Dyke or whatever. Let's do that. I think that's what it's called. Like that mustache, the prominent mustache with like the little pointed goatee. I think is what it's called. Yeah, baby. She's styling. Let's see.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm gonna make this a little more prominent. I want to make it more prominent, and you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna add some glow. I'm gonna add some glow to this. Let's make this like, yeah, like a little bit of lens flare. It's always good, lens flare, right? I learned that in the '90s. Lens flare is always good. To make it a little more severe, like the light. And it kind of implies that I should have like more, like the highlights should be a little stronger on other things. But I just want to draw people's attention to the face, so that's why I'm like enhancing it a little more. But yes, that fro on that guy is awesome. I love yours, right? I love yours. Like, I think it's really cool. I love that it's like stylized and it's like very it's almost like gouache, you know? You're doing it like gouache. I like it.
I really struggled with this. I'm so out of practice with doing portraits of people. So I did the other one with the moustache and the little weird things on their head, and then I came down to the.
Oh, where is it? Where's your other one? Where is it?
Just above it.
Oh, just above it. Oh, this one. Oh, yes. Oh, this is yours too. That's awesome. Oh, I love it. Dude, that's cool. That's really cool. This right here, that on the hair. Oh, wait, I can't. I think I'm in. Let me do another layer. I'm underneath it. That part on the hair, like on the upper, like you have those two sections. That stuff on the hair is really cool, man.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, because it started out with, I think, Watermelon adding like little bits, drawing on the reference. I'm like, okay, well, what can I do with what's being drawn in the reference and add it into the actual thing I'm trying to do.
That's right.
So
That's
then I
right.
ended up cutting away into the hair a bit.
Well, and your mustache is the reason I
Yeah,
put
that's
mine
fun.
in. I saw that. I didn't know that was yours, but that's why I put it in. I was like, oh, that's a good idea. That's awesome. So there you go, man.
Oh,
Designing
so
it
cool.
well.
Rightio, we are at the end of our 2 hours. So I don't know if
Awesome,
you want
guys.
to keep going or you want to wrap it up there.
Yeah, we can wrap it up. This is good because we'll do it again. We'll do it again for sure. Plus, let's be honest, everybody's like
Cool.
probably waiting for me to stop talking, you know. So
Yeah. I think everyone's been enjoying it. I think it's refreshing to not have me talking.
No, you're awesome. You're like
Jonathan,
soothing.
well, thank you so
man.
much, Jonathan.
I'm like the opposite. Like, I'm like a, I don't know, like like a rhino in a glass, like menagerie shop or whatever.
China
and I
shop.
feel like, yeah, and you're like nice. You're like nice and calming, and like that's. I wish I was more like that. My family does too. You know?
Cool. Thanks.
Yeah.
Great stuff, everybody. Thank you so much for joining. Tomorrow we have our clubhouse, as always, on a Wednesday. I have no idea what our theme is going to be.
Nice.
Maybe it'll be mustache focused, seeing as
yes,
mustaches here.
Mustache and
let mustache dominate the character.
Yeah, I love it. That's great. That's a good idea, man. You should totally do it.
What is that one? I think it was from Looney Tunes. It was the one character with the hat and the big orange mustache.
Yes, with oh, dang it, they had the gun.
Yes.
I'm having a brain fart. Somebody's
Yosemite
got it.
Sam.
Yes, that's it. Yosemite,
Sam.
Yosemite Sam. That's right. Yosemite Sam. Yep. Awesome. Yes, that's right. Totally.
Okay.
Such a good character, man. Like hilarious. Like like designed so funny. So funny. And it's like surprisingly like kind of accurate for that era and what people look like. Is really funny. It's like not that much of a caricature. It's really funny for people that were out.
Interesting.
It's really funny.
Cool. Well, thanks again, Jonathan. We're looking forward to the next one for sure, and hope to see the rest of you there as well.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much.
Enjoy the rest of the week, guys.
Good job, guys. Keep kicking butt. Everybody did awesome on here, and it was fun to hang out. And yeah, I'll be back again. And I don't think I'll be able to make it tomorrow, but I think the next one, like the next week, I'll be able to. So I'll be able to. You have other ones too. Like there's other school clubhouse sessions on Saturday or something like that too, right?
We do once a month. We do a clubhouse on a Saturday, but I think this month it's probably not going to happen because I'll be meeting with the rest of the Magma team in Berlin around that same time. So I'll be traveling and won't be able to host.
Gotcha.
But yeah, maybe I still want to put in one more weekend one before Christmas happens. And then on Mondays we do the other classroom, which is also a study similar to this. We did hands recently, and what did we do yesterday? I don't even remember what we did yesterday. So we're always picking another theme in a similar fashion. It was great to have this one that was more portrait focused.
That's great. That's very cool. Okay, cool. I'll jump in when I can, man. This is awesome. Thank you, guys.
Awesome stuff. Thanks, Jonathan. Bye, everybody.